Welcome to day 24 of Hot Topics and Cool Drinks. This series was created exclusively for adults 50 and over, especially for those of us who are corporate executives, past or present, entrepreneurs, family stewards, and educators, parents and grandparents who have invested in private education. We are the people that know that values, not trends, are what guide families. Each evening we gathered here for clarity, connection, and conversation, and tonight is our final night together in this series. I'm your host, Antoinette Wolf, a former corporate executive turned entrepreneur, licensed real estate agent, philanthropist, author, and mother. Tonight, we'll cover a powerful reading from my book, She Shines Anyway, our final hot topic, identity in the age of cyberbullying, the business corner where we'll discuss which investments to hold, release, or reposition, our featured book, The Source by Bill Gates, and as always, we'll close with a moment of reflection, legacy, and alignment. Now, before we move on, let's go ahead and introduce our final cool drink in this series. This drink right here is called Cove. It's a cream soda, okay? And it's a delicious one, even though it's a probiotic cream soda and it's only 5 calories, okay? But it's delicious. It has lemon juice, vanilla extract, some pepper, sea salt. It comes from Canada, so I don't know if that's why it's so good or what, okay? I'm just being honest. And yeah, there's only 5 calories. So I don't know if you have your final cool drink of the evening, but I have mine and I'm ready to toast to tonight. All right, so let's go ahead to toast tonight. And yeah, you ready tonight? It's a good one, guys. If you're a fan of cream soda, you're gonna love this, especially if you're watching the calories. I give it an 8. I give it an 8. Now, again, keep in mind, I prefer very little sugar in my diet. So, now if you're a person that that is going to want a lot of sweet, then you might give it a 7.5. But it's definitely a delicious drink, and it's worth a try. It's called Cove. All right. Now tonight, since it's our final night, I thought that it would be fun to do this while we sip our cool drink of the evening and start by talking about a book that isn't our official featured book for the evening, but one that always makes me smile. It's called Sign Language by Jerry Seinfeld. Jerry Seinfeld was one of the creators of Seinfeld along with Larry David. And in fact, the character George Costanza was modeled after Larry himself. The show, famously called A Show About Nothing, ran from 1989 to 1998, becoming one of the most influential and beloved sitcoms in television history. The main characters, Jerry Seinfeld, who played himself, Elaine Benez, which was played by Julia Louis-Dreyfus, George Costanza, which was played by Jason Alexander, and my mother's favorite character of that show, Cosmo Kramer, who was played by Michael Richard. They captured everyday absurdities with humor that still resonates today. And this book right here, Sign Language, is a collection of his observational comedy written in his trademark stand-up style. It dives into the humor of life's ordinary moments, dating, relationships, work, food, travel, and all of those little quirks of the human behavior. It's a witty book. It's light and it's timeless, reminding us that laughter is just as important as any other part of healing, legacy, strategy, and wellness. It's a great book, you guys. And I don't currently hold it in our library, but I will soon. So definitely keep checking back at bwellness.shop or bwellnesscenter.shop for this book. But you can definitely find it at Barnes & Noble, which is one of my favorite bookstores, Amazon.com, Books A Million, Target, all of those places. Sign Language by Jerry Seinfeld. Anyway, so yeah, let's go ahead and take a moment, take a little sip. This smells absolutely The aroma is delicious. It is delicious. It's delicious for only 5 calories. It's a great one. Let's do one of these poems from my book, She Shines Anyway. 76 poems for the woman who refuses to dim her light. This is one of our final poems. This is called Reputation Means Nothing to the Truth. They talk, they twist, they assume, but the truth doesn't tremble under the weight of rumor. Reputation is what they think I am. Truth is what I know I am, and I've stopped defending myself in courtrooms I've never agreed to enter. Let them write the script. I've already left the scene. Let them gossip in circles. I'm building in straight lines. I used to chase approval. Now I choose alignment, and what stays in my life can withstand both truth and time. Their stories are loud, but the truth doesn't need a spotlight. It stands unbothered, unmoved, unpaid by praise. Reputation means nothing to the truth, and I no longer trade peace for their permission slips. Okay, now if you guys like this poem or any of the other poems that I have read from my book, She Shines Anyway, you know you can find it either on Amazon.com or my website, bewellnesscenter.shop. All right, now let's go on to the next topic. The next topic, oh my God, are you guys excited or are you sad? Are you sad that it's almost our final? Well, this is our final. It's not almost. We are there, baby. We have gotten through it. This is our final night. You know, that poem that I just read is a reminder that resilience and clarity begins within us before we ever engage in noise in the outside world, you know, and that's what that whole book has been about, is just gathering moments of clarity for independent women, that sometimes we need that little extra. Now, I'm going to tell you guys, we're not going to do Menopause Minute tonight, okay? Hopefully you've been writing down those tips, ladies. But we're going to go on to our next topic, which is the hot topic of the night. Identity in the age of cyberbullying, which we have been talking about all month long, because there is in fact a mental health crisis, and they're discussing it on all campuses all over the nation, including at my own college. Okay, and so this was actually an assignment, not the cyberbullying, but identity psychology by Erik Erikson, who described the adolescence of the critical stage of identity versus role confusion. So I wanted to touch on that tonight for our final topic, okay, hot topic, which is this. In developmental psychology, Erik Erikson described adolescence as the critical stage of identity versus role confusion. It's the time when young people are asking, who am I? Where do I fit in? In today's world, this question is being answered not in the safety of homes and classrooms, but under the glare of social media. Cyberbullying twists identity into confusion and despair. Kids begin to believe that they are defined by the likes, the shares, or the cruelty of peers online. And that's why we as parents and grandparents, especially for those of us who come from families that have invested in education and who continue to invest in our own children's education, must remind them that social media is not an identity. The internet is a business. It is advertising, it is marketing, it is not a place where identity is formed. And our responsibility is to teach our kids to see online spaces as business platforms, not as mirrors of their self-worth. When we do this, we protect their mental health and equip them to approach the digital world like entrepreneurs and not consumers. Okay, so that's my last tidbit on that. That was our last hot topic. And that's my last tidbit for now on that cyberbullying. Let's switch over to Business Corner. This is our final Business Corner, guys. As corporate executives transitioning into our own private firms, practices, and corporations, one of our key responsibilities is to know exactly where we stand with our investments. which ones are worth holding, which ones are worth releasing, and which ones may need to be repositioned. This isn't just about stocks, it's about our personal brands and businesses. I had to make this decision myself with my company, Wolf Vibrations LLC. The revenue and brand alignment weren't reflecting positively because I had been, frankly, drifted into a wokey type of thing, the woke crap, instead of staying true to my roots in corporate America. And now I had to reposition. And that's why I changed an example of this is me changing my podcast from what we've been waiting for unedited to the Second Act Executive, and launched the Second Act Executive newsletter, which I just launched that September 1st. And by the way, you can sign up for that at bewellnesscenter.shop, and to subscribe to the Second Act Executive over at iHeart, Apple, and Spotify. Now, this shift was essential because when you are not aligned with your skills and purpose, the numbers show it. Just like when we were reading in Emotional Intelligence 2.0, when you drift from self-awareness and alignment, you lose momentum. By releasing what wasn't serving me and repositioning around my real strength corporate business strategy, the brand is now back on track. And so tonight, I want to talk about some of the tickers that we've mentioned before, because I want you guys to carry this forward with you. Remember, we were talking about, we took a couple of nights to talk about how to start investing, or at least how to watch some brands. So there's some tickers I want you guys to take with you from this experience, okay, that we have been talking about. So one of them is Microsoft, and the ticker for Microsoft is MSFT. MSFT. Okay. Then we had spoke about NVIDIA, which is NVDA. I hope you guys are writing this down because this is the last night for it. NVDA. Then we have, and let me go back a little bit and share this with you about Microsoft. Microsoft is still one of the most powerful long-term holds grounded in enterprise and in cloud growth. So that's one of the reasons why you not just want to watch this one, you actually may, if you're able to, may want to get a little piece and hold on to it, okay? And NVIDIA is a driving infrastructure growth. But one of the main things is we want to definitely get it now while we can, where it is right now. We talked about this the other day. I think it's I think the last time I checked it might have been at 174. And so if that's the case, we want to get it while we can, while it's still there. Okay? I'm going to just say that much. Then we wanted to mention Palantir, because we talked about Palantir the other day. And Palantir is a unique play on data and defense requiring patience and conviction. So that just means that's one to definitely hold on to. Palantir's ticker is PLTR. And then we have S&P 500 EFT, which is SPY, SPY. And that's a cornerstone for stability and diversification, keeping portfolios balanced. Now, knowing how to position these investments, whether financial or a personal brand, is essential for keeping our legacy strong and ensuring that we're not just chasing trends, but we're actually building with strategy. And that's one of the reasons why we had started talking about these stocks, especially when we started talking about the other stocks like Apple and Meta, because again, cyberbullying and all of those all of those things are happening, but those aren't the only things that's happening with social media. Social media platforms are actually growing, and they're worth investing in if you actually teach your children that these are investments. Okay, they're opportunities. Okay, Now, the featured book that I want to talk about tonight is The Source by Bill Gates. Now, I do not have this in my library. I will be getting it in the BeWellnessCenter.shop library. I got this at Barnes and Nobles, and let me share this with you. This is a work that challenges us to think about innovation, responsibility, and the future of humanity. Bill Gates is not just a business icon. As the co-founder of Microsoft, he pioneered the personal computing revolution. But through the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, he has become one of the most impactful philanthropists in history. What makes his contribution stand out in this, he hasn't simply given money, he has invested in solutions. Bill Gates has actively funded programs to combat things like HIV in South Africa, Kenya, Nigeria, Tanzania, in India, and he has made it clear that he wants to see a cure within his lifetime. Tanzania. You guys know, during this series, I had braces when we first started, and now they're gone, and I'm still talking as if those braces are on my teeth. Bear with me. Anyway, this matters deeply for marginalized communities where the burden of HIV and AIDS has been most severe. A cure can break cycles of stigma, poverty, and the loss for millions. And it reminds us of something essential. In a world where kids are bombarded with influencer culture, they must learn to not follow digital personalities, but true leaders, those who move humanity forward. That's why we do highlight philanthropists like Bill Gates through Microsoft and the Gates Foundation, Warren Buffett, who has pledged most of his fortune to philanthropy, Mackenzie Scott, who has quietly donated billions to schools, women's groups, and underserved communities. The Chan Zuckerberg Initiative, CZI, investing in education reform and medical research. And again, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, which continues to prove that modern day philanthropy is not just impactful, but absolutely 100% necessary. 100% necessary. These examples align with our values as corporate executive parents, values of education, legacy, and responsibility. In The Source, Gates warns against shallow engagement with technology, and he calls us back to deep innovation that addresses energy, health, and education and sustainability. He challenges us to see progress not as the next trend, but as the actual next solution. So as we end this series, the lesson is very clear. Identity, legacy, and leadership are not built online. They are built through family, values, education, and meaningful contribution. And folks like Bill Gates' story reminds us that the same vision that built Microsoft can be applied to curing global diseases. Now, for us as parents and executives, it's a call to model real leadership for our children so that they know success is measured not in likes, but in lives changed. I want to thank you guys so much for joining me in this series. I think I did 24 episodes, so we've done 24 nights. This has been Hot Topics and Cool Drinks. And remember, tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Pacific time, the conversation continues on my show, The Second Act Executive Podcast. It's available on Apple, Spotify, iHeart, and wherever else you guys typically listen. Together, we are building legacies that last. All right, you guys take care. It's been real. Bye.